挥剑沉默。
Hey, what is going on, you guys? Admiral Tori here, and welcome aboard for another World of Warships video on my channel. In today's video, we're gonna be taking a look at the Tier 8 Premium Destroyer, the Chinese Luoyang. So I'm gonna be talking a little bit about the Luoyang, historically speaking. Not really entirely on the ship, but there are several things that I gotta point out with the Luoyang. And then I'm going to be talking about what the Luoyang really is, and of course we can talk about the gameplay. Now at the end of the video there's going to be a short clip that I really like, and I'm glad to share with you guys. But before we even get there, let's talk about the Luoyang. So the Luoyang, or the Luoyang for several English speakers out there, I just gonna call it Luoyang because it sounds better, and I think that is the proper way of pronouncing this destroyer name. But the Luoyang in Water Warship is from the origins known as Pan-Asia. I don't know what is Pan-Asia. I know Asia, but Pan-Asia, don't have a clue what it is. I kind of Google search it. It ends up in some kind of cooking place about pans, you know, Chinese Asian pans or Chinese Japanese pans. I don't know what it is, but Pan-Asia, it's a weird way to categorize this ship from a particular nation or country. I just don't know what Pan-Asia is. So there is a reason why they put this ship from the origins known as Pan-Asia, and Luoyang is a Chinese name. So what is Pan-Asia, and why did Wargaming use the word Pan-Asia, or words, as a origin for this particular ship? To keep it simple, because I don't know how accurate or how much information I can provide about this type of subject, because it's just not about the ship. But my Chinese viewers out there, if you're Chinese and you're from mainland China, or possibly some other parts of influenced by Chinese, and you have some idea about Chinese, let's say for instance Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Macau, there's a lot of places that in Asia where there is a lot influenced by mainland China. But the two particular locations I want to talk about is Taiwan and mainland China. There is two China on the map, and this is where it gets a little bit messy, and I'm just gonna keep it simple for people out there and wondering why they call these ships from a place known as Pan-Asia. This is a political problem, and whenever there's anything political, there's always two sides of the spectrum. You're either on one side or the other side, and you know where I'm going with this. I don't want to get into political aspects. I really do dislike politics, because whenever there's politics, there's gonna be people disagreeing with you. But I'm getting my best of my ability to explain why this ship is known as Pan-Asia, is really to give you guys some sort of background on it without going into in-depth. So this is a Chinese destroyer. There is actually two China. Before World War II, China, the big vast land of Asia, was in a power struggle. And the reason why is that if you take in any sort of historical history class or read any books about Asia, Asia was being conquered by the West, and this is known as the imperialistic age, if I were to put it that way, because the British, known as, you know, the British Empire, they had some land grabs in China. The Dutch, the Portuguese, and all the Western nations were conquering the world. There's many parts of the world, like the scramble for Africa, conquering parts of Japan, how the United States opened up Japan, conquering the Philippines, the Spanish-American Wars. There was a lot of things going on at that period of time, and China, historically speaking, if you're Chinese, I'm sure you know this well enough, China was basically being pushed around a lot by the Westerners, and they can't really do anything about it because the Westerners had the superior military with their guns, their ships, and they can do whatever they want. For example, there was a war known as the Opium War. This happened in China. The British were selling opium to the Chinese. The Chinese didn't like that because their people were getting hooked on drugs and this was hurting their society. But the British were making money out of it. So as a result, the Chinese demanded a stop and they decided to attack the British. Unfortunately, the Chinese didn't win the Opium War. It was a decisive battle by the British because the British were sinking the Chinese ships. They were destroying the armies because they had the better trained troops. And that was the reality of it. So as a result, China was in a broken place. Now there's two prominent figures that the Chinese know from the 1900s. These two particular leaders who will become the people or the symbol that will unify China and put China together into a better position in the world. And these particular people have so much information that I cannot really list them out because these guys will be known as leaders and also at the same time political figures. The first person, his name is Mao Zedong. The second person is Chiang Kai-shek. To keep it simple, these guys wanted to control China and also push the Westerners, the British, the Portuguese, the Germans, whoever the country that conquered China or took several parts of China, and also, of course, during World War II, Japan, when they invaded the northern parts of China known as Manchuria, they basically want to put China back together and make it a stronger nation. Now, these two men have different views, and as a result, when you have two leaders with different views and want to take control over a country, you will end up with military conflict, and when you get this military conflict, this is what we call a civil war. The American Civil War. The civil war in, Syria today. Civil war in some sort of area. This civil war will be a struggle between the communist leader from Mao Zedong and the nationalist leader Chiang Kai-shek. These two men will fight before World War II, and all of a sudden they will pause the Chinese Civil War, fight against the Japanese together, and after World War II, resume the war. Now the war, when they resumed the Civil War after World War II, when Japan leaves China because they were devastated by the United States throughout the war, after signing the unconditional treaty with the US, they resume back to the war because they still want to grab the power. Now, at the end of the war, here's what happened. At the end of the war, Mao Zedong will be the leader of the mainland of China. And this mainland of China is pretty much 95% of the Chinese land. It's basically located in Asia, like literally on the continent. Chiang Kai-shek, he will flee to an island known as Taiwan. Taiwan has indigenous people known as Taiwanese. These people were colonized by the Chinese or the Han Chinese during the Han Dynasty in the 17th century, which is why Chiang Kai-shek decides to move to Taiwan. Taiwan is a small island located southeast of China. And as a result, these two particular leaders won't even come together. They just do not want to relate to each other because of their views, and these views can be debatable between two sides of the political spectrums. Like I said, this is politics here, guys. As a result, we got two China. Taiwan being the island ruled by Chiang Kai-shek, known as Republic of China. The mainland of China, the big vast land, will be ruled by Mao Zedong under the communist ideology, and they will be known as the People's Republic of China. Not the Democratic People's Republic, that's Democratic Republic Peoples of North Korea. That's what I was thinking, I'm mixing those terms, but the People's Republic of China. So People's Republic of China is the big vast land on the Asian continent known as China, and Taiwan, which is the smaller island where Chiang Kai-shek will be ruling, will be known as Republic of China. Now this is where it gets political because this ship is from the Republic of China. And the reason why they call it the Republic of China is because to this day, Taiwan and mainland China, or more specifically, Republic of China and People's Republic of China, are not going to be together for a while. It's the same situation as North Korea and South Korea. They're both Koreans, but due to political issues, there are two separate countries as the UN views it. And the reason why that Wargaming went with Pan-Asia is because if they call this ship Chinese, then it would technically be questioning which Chinese. China, the mainland China, People's Republic of China, don't want to show legitimacy of Taiwan, which is the Republic of China, because they want to view China as one entire big country with Taiwan included. Taiwan, the Taiwanese or the Chinese on that land who colonized Taiwan or flee to Taiwan, don't want to be with mainland of China. And you can see where I'm going with this. I do not want to get any more deeper than that, but that's as far as I can say. So this ship will be from Republic of China, or from Taiwan, or as we know in World of Warships, Pan-Asia. If you're wondering why this is such a ridiculous topic to talk about, why can't they just unify and get over with? This is a very deep subject. I cannot speak for it because this subject I'm actually part Chinese, and one of my family members are from Taiwan. And I remember when I was little, I didn't understand this, but they got in an argument with my grandma. My grandma was very upset about this because she strongly believed that Taiwan is their own real China. Obviously, they were arguing, and I'm not going to tell the full story about this, so I can understand why this is a big issue, and I don't want to talk about it because I'm sure there's plenty of opinions to be thrown around and who's right and wrong, and I don't want this video to turn into, oh, this guy believes in this China or this guy believes in this China. But we can both agree that Lo Yang is a Chinese name, and she is a Chinese ship from the Republic of China. Now let's talk about the ship's history, and basically the Lo Yang is a Benson class destroyer. Actually, she is the original Benson. The United States of America sold the Benson to the Republic of China at that time because they didn't really need any World War II ship anymore except the major ships that they kept, like the Iowa class battleships or the South Dakota as museum ships. But the Lo Yang, being a destroyer from Benson, was sent to the Republic of China or Taiwan. As a result, we got this premium ship. She plays exactly like the Hull C of the Benson. And you probably wonder, what is the purpose of getting this ship? Is there any incentive to buy it? I actually paid $35 on her, and she was on discount. Now, I actually personally think that she's probably the best premium ship that I would recommend for players out there. And there are several reasons why. The first reason is that although you can get yourself the Benson and play the Benson like it was a little young, because this is really the same ship, except that this ship has hydroacoustic, hydroacoustic radar, whatever it is, which is very useful for spotting destroyers and spotting torpedoes when you're engaging another destroyer within knife range, if I were to describe it, because when you get that hydroacoustic kicking in, you can actually see the torpedoes coming at you, which gives you a higher end on actually dodging the torpedoes and lowering chance of dying to the enemy torpedoes, unless you're close enough to a point where you can't really dodge. But yeah, it actually gives you a better chance of surviving against another destroyer to destroyer combat, which is one compelling feature that you might want to buy the Lo Yang. The second reason is that she is a premium ship, and this is probably the biggest reason why I would recommend the Lo Yang. Now, there are many people buying premium ships. Several reasons. Like for me, I tend to buy premium ships because of their historical significance. But the other reason you might buy a premium ship is because you need the free XP, which I don't really care about the free XP because then you got to spend extra cash to convert the free XP to get another ship anyways. But the biggest reason why I would recommend the Lo Yang is because she plays like a Benson. Okay, number one, the Benson is a really good American destroyer. You got a long smoke time, you got good guns, good torpedoes. They're not the best guns or the best torpedoes, which is one thing about American destroyers. They're set dead in the center between being a gunboat and also a torpedo boat, or you can choose to build the ship as a gunboat or a torpedo boat, whatever the case it is, which gives you more freedom to pick the playstyle you want to play, unlike the Japanese where you had to really play as a torpedo boat, and the Russian you play as a gunboat. So this boat is very versatile, easy to catch on for an average player, and understandably, I really do like the Benson class destroyers. So being a easy ship to play overall and a solid ship and a premium ship, you can crank out a lot of coins out of the ship. Now, I do have a premium account right now, and it's about to expire soon, but on average, I crank out about 300 to 600k of coins in a low young, whether you win or lose. Now, of course, if you win, you get more coins, and if you lose, you get less coins. And I always slap on the Zulu flag, I believe, which is the first blood flag that increases the amount of coins you get per game at the end of the game, which is like a 50% boost, I believe. So this ship, the biggest reason you would get this ship is to make coins, and this will save you a lot of time. If you're looking for a ship that you just want to spend for a reasonable grinder, the Loyang is the choice because she is a solid ship. She is a high tier ship because the higher the tier you go, the more coins you get because you're facing more challenging opponents. Now keep in mind, when you're facing more challenging opponents, you gotta have some sort of experience with these ships. And you're gonna be going against radar type of ship, which also requires experience against ships like the New Orleans, the Indianapolis, the Chapayev, the whatever ship that has equipped with radar. You gotta be aware of those ships. So you can't really just buy the ship right away without any experience in the high tiers. Fortunately for me, I've been playing the high tiers for a while, considering that I grind to the Yamato and the Iowa, the Taiho, and of course the Essex. So I do have a good idea what I'm dealing with, even though I'm not a high tier destroyer player. What you really need is like grabbing at least 2 objectives and do a decent amount of damage, and you can get out 500k to 400k of coins. And this is why I think the Loyang is a real good ship. Now this game, I actually lose this game eventually, but this is always actually a good game. I don't know what else to say about the ship, but all I can say is that I would really recommend this ship as, you know, if I had only $50 to use on World of Warship for whatever the case is, this is the ship that I would pick. Now, I feel like a lot of people overlook this ship because she's Chinese. You know, when you talk about naval stuff, the truth is that most people are geared to the Germans, the Japanese, the Americans, the big naval nations. And the Loyang doesn't have any history. I don't think she has any major history with naval engagement because the Republic of China at that time, or Taiwan, wasn't really at war, or technically they're still at some sort of conflict with China, the mainland of China, the People's Republic of China, but they don't really use the Loyang in any major naval engagement, so she doesn't really have history. The only reason you buy this ship as a premium ship is for the coins, and of course the hydroacoustic ability, which is very nice on the Loyang. Now the Loyang does have Hull C, because that the Hull C is the maximum upgrade on the Benson. The Benson Hull C basically trades one of the guns for extra anti-air. I personally prefer the extra gun, but you can't get that gun in this premium ship because it's already been predetermined that they put the ship as Hull C. I think Hull B might be better for most people because you don't really use anti-air and you don't really want to bother with the planes because the planes will get you caught. Most of the time you want to use damage, which is why I personally prefer the 5th gun, but you can't get it on the Loyang, which is the biggest downside between the Benson and the Loyang. Now, as you can see, I actually lose this game. This game was actually a good game, but since I was talking about the history and what the Loyang was all about, I didn't really get a chance to talk about the Loyang, but in the future, I will talk more about the Loyang. Now, of course, there's actually the bonus clip. This bonus clip, I really do like, and this is the biggest, in my opinion, this is the biggest reward you can get from playing a game. And I want to point this out because this reward is bigger than getting XP and coins, and I do like what I really like about playing destroyers in high tiers. The reason I also recommend the tier 8 Loyang over like a tier 8 Atago and Tempest because they're capable of doing the same thing in terms of making coins, is that Loyang is a destroyer. In the higher tiers, destroyers tend to have more freedom of doing things. And another reason I like destroyers at the higher tiers over the battleships and Atago and all the cruisers is that the Loyang, she can play their support role, she can play the objective role, she can play the killing role, and she can play any type of role. With battleships, you can't really play as much roles as you want. You can do the roles, but you won't be as effective as destroyer. In this case, I choose to play the support role, and this is one of the things that I strongly encourage people to do more often, but you don't see it as often. But this is the greatest reward that you can ever get. Getting a compliment from your teammate for doing the right thing. In this particular gameplay, I had the choice between trying to capture objective, killing several battleships because battleships don't really have any coverage to spot me, or save the turrets by popping a smoke screen, but unfortunately the turret does die. But I just happened to choose to support my aircraft carriers because the aircraft carrier was at a poor position near the battleships, and also the aircraft carrier was getting caught by a destroyer. So doing the right thing, I choose to protect my aircraft carrier, which technically changed the game around. You can look on the scoreboard because we were losing our battleships by then and left with only cruisers who can contest against a Yamato, two Iowas, and several other ships. I think one more cruiser. But yeah, the aircraft carrier changed the game, and I made the right choice to protect the aircraft carrier. And as a result, the greatest reward is that I got a compliment from a team that really respected for what I did. And this is something, like I said, I encourage. This is a team-based game. There are objectives, there are kills, there are things that you want to get. You can get more reward from getting coins for getting kills and capturing objective. But the most important thing from my view is my teammates. And with the Lo Yang being a destroyer, you have smoke, you have hydroacoustic surge, you have the ability to move around a lot, which gives you the chance to support your teammates. You can get from point A to point B. You can assist battleships right away. While cruisers take a longer time to get to battleships. While you're in a destroyer, you have engine boosts. If you have engine boosts equipped, you can get there from point A to point B. You can capture objectives. You can spot ships if there's no aircraft carrier in this game. In this case, I was just happened to be there to support my aircraft carrier. I popped the smoke to protect my aircraft carrier from being spotted from the Yamato. I pop the smoke, or I fight the other Benson, because the other Benson, apparently he's more into his self-interest. That Benson actually sailed across the entire map on the edge just to hunt down for that one particular aircraft carrier instead of capturing the flag for his team. And you can tell that by that because the Benson was full health when I was engaging him. So aside from that, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time on World of Warships.